The New Year's Rebel, a Midnight Cat Café story. December 31st, 10 o'clock in the evening. Somewhere across the city, people were gathering, clinking glasses, checking the time, positioning themselves for the countdown that would arrive in 2 hours whether anyone wanted it to or not. Petra had left her party early. She'd made an excuse, headache, something vague about not feeling well, and slipped out the back door while everyone clustered around the champagne table. Nobody noticed. They were too busy being festive. The sequined top she'd bought for tonight scratched against her shoulders. She'd tried it on in the store and felt glamorous for about 30 seconds. Now she just felt like someone wearing a costume that didn't fit. Her car found its way to a quiet street, a cafe glowing amber between a dry cleaner and a shoe repair shop. She didn't remember deciding to stop, but here she was, pushing open the door. The warmth inside held no urgency. Cinnamon and vanilla drifted through the air. String lights traced the brick walls in soft loops. A radiator ticked somewhere in the corner, keeping its own time, unconcerned with countdowns. Fewer people than she expected. A man reading by a lamp. Someone drowsing in an armchair. The quiet hum of a space that didn't know or care what night it was. The woman behind the counter looked up with a gentle smile. "No champagne here tonight," she said, "but I have a very good hot chocolate. Or tea, if you prefer something that doesn't pretend to be festive." Petra almost laughed. "Tea, please. Something calm. Chamomile with honey, coming right up." She found a seat near the window, a deep chair upholstered in faded green velvet. Through the glass she could see other cars passing, full of people headed somewhere more exciting. She didn't envy them. That was the strange part. The black and white cat sat on a nearby table in a perfect sphinx position. He had the look of a tuxedo cat who took his formal wear seriously. Bright green eyes that sparkled with something like mischief, a white bib that gleamed against his black coat. He was watching her, not in a demanding way, more like a performer assessing his audience before the show. Petra watched back. The cat lifted one paw, set it down precisely, shifted his weight by what might have been a single millimetre to the left, paused, considered, shifted 2 degrees to the right. He looked enormously satisfied with himself. "That's Felix," Clara said, setting a cup of tea on the table beside Petra. Steam curled upward, carrying chamomile and sweetness. "He has very particular standards, but only for himself." Felix chirped, a small, theatrical sound. Then he executed another microscopic position adjustment and settled into a pose of supreme elegance. Petra wrapped her hands around the warm cup. The cafe breathed quietly around her. No countdown clock on the wall, no television blaring coverage of celebrations in distant cities, just the tick of the radiator, the soft clink of cups, the occasional turn of a page. Felix held his perfect pose for another moment, then, Apparently satisfied with his performance, he hopped down from the table and approached her chair. He didn't jump into her lap immediately. First, he circled, once around her feet, then again in the opposite direction, finding the optimal angle of approach. Finally, he leaped up, light and precise, and began arranging himself on her lap. This involved several rotations, a test of different positions, a pause to groom one specific spot on his shoulder that apparently required immediate attention. At last, he settled, tucked his paws beneath his chest, and began to purr. The sound came in bursts, punctuated by small chirps and trills. Even his purr had personality. "I've never liked New Year's Eve," Petra said. Felix's ear rotated toward her voice, but he didn't open his eyes. "Everyone acts like there's something wrong with you if you don't love it. The forced celebration, the countdown, the pressure to kiss someone at midnight, to have plans, to feel hopeful about arbitrary calendar changes." She ran her hand along Felix's back. His fur was sleek and soft, the black portions gleaming in the amber light. "I've spent 34 years pretending, going to parties I didn't want to attend, wearing uncomfortable clothes because the night is supposed to be special, making resolutions I didn't believe in, counting down to midnight with everyone else, while feeling absolutely nothing." Felix stretched one paw forward, claws extending briefly before retracting, a luxurious, self-satisfied stretch. "And tonight I just left. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't stand there in this ridiculous sparkly top and pretend to care about champagne toasts." The tea warmed her from the inside, chamomile and honey, simple and good, the kind of thing you drink when you've decided to stop performing for a while. Felix shifted on her lap, made another of his precise adjustments, a millimetre this way, 2 degrees that way. Then he chirped softly, apparently pleased with his new configuration. Petra smiled despite herself. "You don't care what night it is, do you?" Felix opened one eye, closed it again. "You're being exactly who you always are, precise, a little theatrical, completely unbothered by the calendar." The cat's purr deepened, rumbling through his small body and into her legs. "Nobody told you that December 31st requires a different version of yourself. You didn't buy a special outfit or practice looking happy at midnight. You're just you, tonight and every night." The clock on the cafe wall showed 10:30. 90 minutes until the moment everyone else was waiting for. The moment that was supposed to mean something. The fresh start, the clean slate, the magical division between old and new. But sitting here, with a warm cup and a contented cat and the quiet tick of the radiator, Petra felt something shift. Not a resolution, nothing so formal as that. Just a small permission. What if December 31st was just another night? She spoke softly, testing the idea. What if the countdown didn't apply to me? What if I went home, took off this scratchy shirt, and fell asleep before midnight like I actually want to? Felix chirped. It sounded like agreement. My real New Year starts in spring anyway, when everything's waking up. That's when I feel like beginning things. April, when the light comes back and the air smells different. She scratched behind Felix's ear, and he tilted his head to give her better access. And that's allowed, isn't it? To have my own calendar, my own rhythms, to let the rest of the world count down to their moment while I rest through mine. Clara appeared with a small cookie on a napkin. "For the road," she said, "whenever you're ready. No rush." It feels strange to leave a party and end up somewhere better. The older woman smiled. Sometimes the best celebrations are the ones you don't plan. The quiet ones. The ones where you give yourself permission to just be. Felix chose that moment to yawn, a wide, magnificent yawn that showed all his small teeth, and then resettled into an even more comfortable position. "He's very good at being himself," Petra said. "That's his gift. He reminds people that their own company is enough, that you don't need an audience for the performance, and you don't need a performance at all." Petra finished her tea slowly. No hurry. The midnight she didn't care about was still an hour away, and she had no intention of watching it arrive. Felix dozed on her lap, occasionally making small sounds in his sleep, tiny chirps and murmurs, as if even his dreams had personality. She thought about the party she'd left. By now they'd be doing the thing where everyone says what they're grateful for, then the predictions for the new year, then the champagne toast at 11 to warm up for the champagne toast at 12. None of it had ever meant anything to her, and that was okay. Some people loved New Year's Eve the way some people loved spicy food or roller coasters. It just wasn't for her. There was no moral failing in that, no deficiency, just a preference like any other. Felix stretched, and she knew he was getting ready to move on. "Thank you," she told him, "for showing me what it looks like to ignore the calendar." He blinked at her once, slowly, deliberately. Then he hopped down and padded away, tail held high, moving with the confidence of someone who had never once performed for approval. The drive home felt like relief. Petra turned off the radio, some station doing a countdown of the year's biggest songs, and let the quiet settle around her. The streets held other cars, other people rushing toward their celebrations. She let them pass. At home, she peeled off the sequined top and dropped it on the floor, put on the soft cotton shirt she actually liked, the one with the hole in the sleeve that she'd never bothered to fix. The clock on her nightstand read 11:15. 45 minutes until midnight. She climbed into bed, pulled the covers up, let her head sink into the pillow. Somewhere out there the countdown was beginning, crowds gathering, champagne chilling, the collective held breath of everyone waiting for permission to begin again. But here, in this quiet room, the year changed when she decided it did. April, maybe, when the light came back. Or perhaps right now. This moment, the one where she finally stopped pretending. Her eyes closed, her breathing slowed, and sleep arrived the way it does when you've stopped fighting. Soft, gentle, on your own time, your own calendar, your own.